As we approach this holiday season, you may find yourself reflecting on gifts that you've given your grandkids and kids in the past. Sometimes we knock it out of the park, and other times we may miss. Today we want to explore some creative ways to give to your loved ones around the holidays.
Spencer, we often come back to the adage, do your giving while you're living so you're knowing where it's going. And the reality here is sometimes we do give great gifts. Sometimes we do really well. Sometimes we don't do well. And especially around the holidays, there's a lot of tension about what to give. So today, we want to explore 3 creative ways that you can give to loved ones. Now, always remember, when you give a gift to loved ones, you can't get a tax exemption. So sorry if that's what you were looking for, you can't get that. But our 3 ways that we can give today: tangible financial gifts, we're going to talk about charitable gifts, and then we're going to talk about family experiences. And so some of these take a little bit more planning, but if you're looking for a last minute gift, hopefully we can give some ideas that you could maybe talk about with your loved ones. So first, we want to talk about tangible financial gifts. And this is when you want to just give money straight to a loved one. And for 2024, anyone can give $18,000 to anybody else. So this is a friend, this is a loved one. You can give up to $18,000 and not have to report it to the IRS. Again, there's no tax exemption, tax deduction, but you just don't have to report it in terms of your charitable giving. That's the annual exclusion amount for 2024. And so that can be given into a 529, an UGMA, an UTMA, non-qualage brokerage stock, IRA accounts. You can give that amount to anybody. We just have to recognize that once you cross that $18,000 threshold, then the IRS just wants to start knowing, hey, how much have you given in your lifetime? But you can give cash gifts. It's really simple. You can write a check. You can do it in a lot of different ways. What are some things to consider, Spencer, when we think about giving tangible cash gifts?
One of the things that we recognize is that a financial gift oftentimes can open up conversations that can be really helpful. So if we give to a child, grandchild, another loved one, sometimes this actually gives us an entree into that conversation to encourage them, maybe to use those resources in a particular way. Sometimes the gift just needs to be hands-off. You know, if we've had kind of a dicey experience and we just want to bless a loved one, sometimes it just needs to be, hey, we're writing them a check and we're leaving it at that. If particularly we have an opportunity to maybe talk with grandkids or with a niece or nephew or some other loved one where we're able to start a conversation, that can be really nice because we can talk about the use of resources over time, how we're stewards, all kinds of different elements there. So we need to be intentional about how we have those conversations and if there are any expectations with the gift. Ideally, we have fewer expectations and we have more just encouragement in a particular path if there is any.
Yep. Well, and I think it's really especially important to have those conversations because sometimes if you've given this gift a year, 2, 3 years, maybe then it becomes an expectation that that gift is going to be done annually. So just make sure that you're talking with your loved ones about this. It's really important to have honest conversations. So one of the things that we've covered before, but we want to talk about one more time, is giving non-qualified appreciated stock. So let's say that Tom bought 100 shares of Apple stock for $50 per share, and it's now worth $100. And Tom wants to give $10,000 to his granddaughter, Trisha, as a gift for the holidays. There's 2 routes he could go. One is he sells the stock, he pays the capital gains on it, and then he gives the gift. Let's say he has a 15%, he's in that 15% capital gains bracket. Well, that gift is going to be reduced by 15%, or he's going to have to make up that difference. And so he might only be able to give $8,500. On the other hand, he could give that stock to Trisha, and Trisha will then inherit his both holding period as well as his initial basis. So if she has not made a whole lot of money, or if she's in college and she's not working, and in 2024 individuals, as long as they have less than $47,025 of income, earned income and capital gains, then she'd be at a 0% rate. So he could give her the stock. She could then sell it both at his cost basis and his holding period, and she would be able to receive the full $10,000. And so if you want to pursue this route, we would recommend talking to your CPA if that's going to be an option for you, but you can give appreciated stock to loved ones. And so you can really think about, there are creative ways to give tangible financial gifts to loved ones. But again, having that open dialogue, that conversation of once that gift is given, it can't be revoked. So if you give it to Trisha, you expect her to give to make that payment to college tuition with it, and she doesn't, you have to be okay with it's an irrevocable gift. It's gone.
Right.
So in any of these circumstances, just be honest, have these open conversations with your loved ones.
Right. We don't want to have the strings attached at the same time. If we do our giving while we're living and we know how the recipients use those resources, we can also make more informed gifts in the future of whether we want to continue that every year. Because if they're using it to harm themselves, then or to go in a path that really isn't helpful in any count, then we also need to have the courage to maybe go a different path in terms of our gifts for the future and to have those conversations.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's move on to the second one. And this one is a little bit more creative in how you have to structure it. And so we think about giving charitably on behalf of others. And so right off the start, we want to recognize that not everybody likes the same charities. Not everybody has the same charitable mindset. And so this, again, is one where you have to start it with that conversation of, hey, we want to do something with you here. We want to give charitably on your behalf for the holidays. So in lieu of a gift, maybe we're still going to give a small gift, but the majority of what we want to do is make charitable donations on your behalf to some organizations. And so your elementary age granddaughter may not be as excited about the farmer in Zambia that receives a goat, but she might be excited about a soup kitchen locally. And so we want to think about, how do we do this? How do we frame this in such a way to get both the donor and the recipient of the gift, the child, a grandchild, to be excited about this? And so a couple of the ways that we think that you could facilitate this, again, this is going to take a little bit of forthright conversation, a little bit of planning. And maybe this happens even a couple months before the holidays of saying, okay, we're at the Thanksgiving table, or we are 2 weeks out from Christmas or something like that. And we say, hey, this year we want to do something different. We want to do something special. We want to give you X amount of dollars to give to a charity that you want. But here's the caveats is maybe we want it to be given to humanitarian aid or orphan aid or human trafficking or homeless shelters or churches or other ministries. Maybe it's putting on some parameters of, we want you to do some digging and some research to think through where actually are beneficial places for this to go. We want it to go to causes that are viable and not just lining the pockets of their CEOs. And so you encourage the beneficiary, hey, we're going to give you this amount of money, but do a little bit of research into this area, what speaks to your heart, and where do you want to give that? And then maybe come back at Christmas and say, hey, let's everybody talk about this. Where are you giving? Why is that exciting to you? There's ways that you can do this creatively, but again, have that conversation.
Well, and this is something that we can even assign a report, like you talked about. You do the research, you have to give a 3-minute presentation to your family or to the person that's making the donation on your behalf. So it can be great. And like you said, it doesn't have to just be either or. This can be in addition to the other gifts that are given so that we can have our family members actually experiencing that level of generosity as they go into the holiday season of, okay, I have received a lot, but I also get to give in some substantial ways, get to do both, because that can kind of recenter us in the midst of a consumer season.
Right. And I think what's really exciting is a lot of these charities have recognized that this is an option. And so one of the charities that we love, IJM, has a catalog of gifts. And you can give anything from helping a woman start a small business to rescuing a child from sex trafficking. And so you can lay out, here are some options even within certain organizations. And I think what's really exciting about this is you get to see, if you ask for that report, then the rest of the family gets to see, what is that child excited about? It allows me to enter into a deeper relationship with my loved one, rather than just say, hey, I think you'll like this, but now I get to know what you're passionate about and why you're passionate and why that speaks to your heart. And it can really, I think, produce some long-term, hopefully good conversations, as well as just deepen that relationship.
Well, it also helps us to see the trade-offs in life that we face naturally financially, because every financial decision that we have is a trade-off. You know, we can give $100 over here, or we can use $100 for something that we'd like. obviously we're going to buy things and they're going to meet our needs on some level. And so that second option is always going to be there. But also if we can highlight that the first option of being able to give very generously can lead to tremendous fulfillment and satisfaction and engagement, that can be fantastic too.
Yeah. Well, and we come back to one of the things that Ron Blue often said. He says giving, especially charitable giving, is how we break the power that money has over our lives. And so leading into generosity, it is more blessed to give than to receive. I think practicing those things is really good for our beneficiaries, our loved ones to see. So Spencer, one of the ways that we can give charitably is through a donor advised fund. How does that help us maybe facilitate these charitable gifts at the end of the year that you are bequesting on behalf of others?
Well, one of the nice things is you can make the donation to the donor advised fund. And let's just say you have a couple of grandkids that know exactly what they want to do and they make a presentation and you get the funds out the door. Let's say that there's a couple others that they drag their feet or they want to do a little more research or what have you, and the gift can't actually be completed until the next year. Well, you can make the gift to the donor advised fund, and then whenever you get everyone together, whether that's in early the next year or whenever it might be, you can then begin to push those resources out. And you can even show the kids, grandkids, that donor advised fund and say, look at this cool tool that I can use as this is, kind of my charitable piggy bank of sorts. And now I can push resources out from that. So we'll, of course, link in the show notes more about a donor advised fund and videos that we've done there. But that can be a great use case for a donor advised fund.
Yeah. Last, we're going to talk about experiences in lieu of tangible gifts. So this is, let's say, all of your family loves to cook. You could do something like bringing a private chef in for Christmas dinner. And that way you don't have to cook or they don't have to cook, but they just get to come and enjoy good food. Or you could have a private chef come in and teach you how to cook. So there's all sorts of ways that we can think of what are maybe some experiences, what are things that the family loves doing together that we say, okay, we're not going to give anything physically. You're not going to be able to open a package on Christmas, or maybe it's something very small, but we're going to do something bigger so that we have an experience together as a family. So as we think about that, what are some things that we can do in terms of those experiences? I talked about food. I like food. So if someone feeds me, I'm often very glad. What are some other things that we could think about experience-wise?
Well, sometimes it's grandparents saying, well, we're going to get the whole family together for a beach trip or for a ski trip or something, like that that's very tangible during the course of the year. And they just say, this is how we're going to use those resources. At other times, it could be a specific location that they're kind of enabling the family to be able to go to. So I was talking with a dad who has 8 children, which just blows my mind how you can manage that. But 8 children, and he and his wife, one of the things that has been most helpful is that his parents every year, apparently for the last 10 years or so, they have given gifts to a water park here in the area, and so that their family can go all summer. So they go to this water park all summer, and it's great for the parents because the kids go out and just have a great time. There's 8 of them, they play together, and it's just a place of rest for the family. And grandfather, grandmother knows that this wouldn't be really possible unless they made that gift. And so they've just said, well, we're going to do this gift, and that's going to be one of the most helpful things that we can do as an experience for the entire family. Everybody enjoys it, and they spend probably a couple dozen days, over the course of the summer at that water park.
Yep. Yeah. Well, and I think about my family too. One year we asked my dad to give gifts of memberships to the zoo and to the Children's Museum. I can't tell you how many times we went just because we had it and we needed something to do with our kids when they were little and they loved animals. And so thinking about, I think there's really creative ways that, yes, you may not be able to open something and be like, yes, on Christmas, we're going to the zoo today, but it's an elongated gift. It's something that can be appreciated over a long period of time.
Yeah. Well, like Cousin Eddie says, it's the gift that keeps on giving the whole year round. So those kinds of gifts, though, that do translate to multiple experiences can be fantastic and can be so helpful for families.
Yeah. Well, and I think especially the big thing here is when you think about a family experience, you can think, okay, what do I like? But you really need to think, what does the family enjoy? What's going to bless everybody? As a giver, it can be really hard because we think, okay, what do I want? What do I want to experience? And maybe that's not what my kids want to experience. Maybe it's not what my grandkids want to experience. So what I love about that example that you gave is the grandparents were thinking about what is going to bless the kids and the grandkids. And when we think about experiences, what does your family value? What is important to them? What do you want them to see and experience? Maybe it's, hey, this year we want to take you on a trip down to a place where we can serve at an orphanage in Central America or South America. So you're still taking a vacation, but it's also a service type trip where you're still shepherding your family into something that shows off we can be generous to others within this holiday season.
One of the things that we recognize as well is that communication is really important in this situation, just like it was the last couple of situations that we've detailed. And it's important because there may be ancillary expenses along the way. It doesn't have to be that you take care of every detail, every expense for a particular experience. It may just be that you say, okay, well, we're going to pick up the tickets, once we get there, or we're going to pick up, we're going on this beach vacation. And so we're going to pick up the expense of the home that we're going to stay at, or the accommodations, or the home plus the food, or something like that. But it doesn't mean that, we necessarily would pick up the plane flights, that might be to get there, or we need everybody to pitch in on the food. So that level of communication oftentimes is still there with these experiences because there may be a limited budget there. And so it could be that we're getting most of the way there, or even a part of the way there towards this experience, but we also want it to be a joint effort along the way.
Right. And I think too about families that have unique situations. So let's say we have a grandparent that wants to give this travel experience, and they have one set of kids that has 5 grandkids, and they have another set of kids that are single and both have high income jobs. Maybe you need to have this communication of, hey, we're going to help out the family that has grandkids because they have a higher need. But because of that, we want to also bless you in this way. And so there's ways we love all of our kids equally, so we treat them unequally. But in that, have a clear communication plan, because you don't want bitterness to grow within the family because, well, you also did this for them. Why didn't you do something else for us? Communicate it. And then maybe there can be some more understanding. So really with all this, we hope this is helpful as you think about gifts that you can make to kids and grandkids and other loved ones during this holiday season. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the chat below, and we look forward to seeing you again next time. If you like these financial planning videos, please share it with a friend. And if you have questions, go to our website at seriousretirement.com. This content was provided by Retirement Planning Services. We are located in Knoxville, Tennessee. You can visit our website at seriousretirement.com. The information in this recording is intended for general educational and informational purposes only, and should not be construed as investment advisory, financial planning, legal, tax, or other professional advice based on your specific situation. Please consult with your professional advisor before taking any action based on its contents. Advisory services offered through Retirement Planning Services, LLC.